Today on Defending Life, see how we are making progress in ending abortion and how laws are in fact passing to protect the unborn. Hello, friends, and welcome to Defending Life. I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life and co-founder of the Silent No More Awareness Campaign. I'm also a co-host of the EWTN series, The Catholic View for Women. I bring you the personal greetings of our National Director, Father Frank Pavone, and of course today we're pleased to be joined by Father Denis Wilde, our Associate Director. Father, welcome to the program.
Always great to be part of the series, Janet.
Well, and we always like to start with a prayer and a reflection that comes from the beautiful pro-life devotional that Father Pavone wrote called Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day. And of course, it's available at the EWTN Religious Catalog.
Lord, by now there will be a stench, for he has been dead for 4 days. From John's Gospel. Jesus was about to raise Lazarus, but Martha was worried about the stench. We too fear the stench. Politicians fear who will vote against them. Businesses fear who will stop supporting them. Surely there will be a stench. And that becomes the excuse not to act, even when we know that Jesus has authority even over death. Lord, free us from our fears and calculations and make us bold as we battle the culture of death. Amen.
Amen.
We sure need that boldness today.
That's right.
And the stench goes away sometimes when we have that boldness.
Exactly. And of course, making progress against the culture of death, while our goal, of course, is to end all abortions 100%, make it totally illegal. And as we say with the Silent No More campaign, we say, let's make it unthinkable, an unthinkable choice. But to get to that goal, we are making progress in the states. And one great example are the fetal pain bills that are making their way. And as of this taping, we have about a dozen states have passed those laws saying that once the unborn child can feel pain at 20 weeks, that it's going to be illegal, for them to abort that child. And of course, people might say, well, is that really progress? I said, absolutely. Those babies are being saved, but their moms are being saved from a horrific procedure and a regret that's going to be with them, the mother and the father, for a lifetime. Well, recently at the Silent No More gathering in Washington, D.C., one of our regional coordinators, Irene Zamorano, she's a regional coordinator out in Los Angeles, so she's out in the belly of the beast, so to speak, where a lot of abortions happen. It's New York and LA, capitals of the abortion industry. She was put in very difficult circumstances and had an abortion at 26 weeks. So let's take a look at Irene's testimony so we can really get a view into what this is like.
Hello, I am Irene Zamorano from Southern California. My nightmare began the day I walked into that abortion clinic. I bought the lie that abortion was a quick fix, but instead it was a lifetime of consequences. I know firsthand the effects of abortion, the trauma of abortion. I have suffered depression, anxiety, and an eating disorder, just to name a few. I felt like I was part of a herd with a number on my back and a $sign on my face. I was 26 weeks pregnant with my daughter and felt her kick and punch as the abortionist administered the medicine. I found out later on she was being burned. I unsuccessfully tried to save my daughter by immediately leaving the clinic and going to a labor and delivery at a local hospital. The specialist there said that the healthy heartbeat we heard over the monitor would soon deteriorate overnight. After 7 hours of labor, I gave birth to a lifeless yet beautiful daughter named Lenore. As I held her, I remember slowly touching her hands, each finger, and I was grabbing her toes one by one. I remember thinking, oh my God, what have I done? It was heart-wrenching to see my 6 daughters weep when I told them that the same mother they knew that was overprotective of them, the same mother that they knew that fed them, that nurtured them, that played with them, was the same mother that ended the life of their sister, was the same mother that robbed them from ever bonding with her, from ever playing with her, from ever dancing with her. I recently told my 7-year-old son that I was the reason why he visits his sister at the cemetery. I've hurt so many people because of the decision I've made. This barbaric act is not liberating. It is not empowering. It is absolutely humiliating. It left an imprint on my heart that will never go away. Good, loving, smart women are being deceived into thinking this is a quick fix. So many women have died from legal abortions. Women need love and protection, not abortion. There is a high probability you know someone that has had abortion and has been impacted by this. The facts alone depict a picture. The facts will tell you that over 55 million lives have been destroyed. Over 55 million women have felt the impact of abortion. Over 55 million families are now incomplete. Over 55 million generations have been eliminated. Men, step up. Protect your daughters. Protect your sisters, your mothers, your nieces. Enough is enough.
Well, there's a lot of things in there, and one of the things that really hits me is right at the end. It says, men, get up and protect your daughters, your sisters, all of those you love.
Right.
I think it's so important to have the backing for women, for mothers who are pregnant now, to have the backing of their husbands, to have the backing of their loved person who can really support them, and to get up and say something, and to be strong. And of course, it is great because we do have that with the men who regret their lost fatherhood as well.
That's
and
right.
Speak out.
And of course, like I said, like I pointed out, Irene would never have been pressured into this had it not been legal, because people use that legality as the reason to push them down that road. Well, you can do it. Come on, let's just get this abortion. And of course, she was delaying. But that fetal pain bill would have saved her and her unborn child. So I want people to realize that this is the real face of what we're talking about. And these kind of bills, if they can get passed in more states, will, of course, save a lot of babies and mothers and fathers. And of course, at the federal level, we know we have the bill sitting in Congress. By this taping, hopefully it'll begin to make its way to a vote. And I know people might be scratching their heads saying, no, but President Obama, he's going to veto that thing. But isn't it important, Father, that we get these politicians on record? Like, where do you stand?
Well, they have to be, because we're talking about torture in other areas of our society, and the much milder things than ripping off heads and arms and legs in a baby.
That's right.
And that's so important that we put that in perspective and see what happens to the babies, not just once, but thousands of times around the week.
That's right. Well, we have a lot more to talk about, brothers and sisters. When we come back, we're going to also talk about another bill, an exciting bill, and a project that Priest for Life has been behind for many years. So stay tuned.
Not until people saw images of children in coal mines did they enact child labor laws. Not until people saw images of human torture did they rise up against slavery. And now, after seeing these images, what will you do? Priests for Life, because America will never reject abortion unless America sees abortion. Call now to learn how you can help.
You are looking at the face of an unborn child, 25 and a half weeks into pregnancy. This child can be legally killed by abortion in America. As this ad from the Yellow Pages proves, some abortion clinics sell abortions up to 28 weeks. Abortion kills living children whose hearts are beating and whose bodily organs are all in place. Abortion, haven't we gone too far?
Welcome back to our Defending Life program, where we're talking about the progress we are making at the state level to bring an end to abortion. Well, of course, Father, we just spoke about the pain capable, but another idea, of course, especially here at Priests for Life, we've been endorsing, was once we passed the partial birth abortion bill and showed the horror of late-term abortion, we started promoting a campaign called Stop DNE.
Which is another late-term abortion.
Well, it's for that second trimester dismemberment procedure. And we actually have a special website, stopdne.com, we've had for a number of years. We've used the diagrams of that second trimester abortion from Nucleus Medical Media for people to use to show people the horrors. Well, now we have a bill that has passed actually in 2 states as of this taping by Kansas and Oklahoma. And it's called the Unborn Child Protection from Dismemberment Abortion Bill. I mean, and again, people are going to say, well, is that really protecting all the babies? No, but it's going to protect quite a few in those states where they can no longer do that procedure. So I think this is a great hopeful progress, don't you, Father?
I sure do. And, you know, there are little different ways to attack this thing legally, and they're attacking it from the pain-capable aspect and also from what actually happens, the dismemberment, which causes that pain.
I mean, people don't realize tearing arms and legs and crushing that baby's skull, and that's what we have in those diagrams we show from Nucleus Medical Media, that this is a horrific procedure of torture, like you said. It's torture for that unborn child. So it's progress we're making, and recently Father Frank and I were at the Academy for Life in Rome, and we had a chance to chat with one of the key speakers there at that conference. His name is Snead. He's a professor at the University of Notre Dame. He's also director of the Center for Ethics and Culture at the university, and we asked him to give us some comments, because this is his specialty, the law of the progress of these states. So let's see what Snead had to tell us.
Pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act is essential in a variety of ways. I was actually in Texas in 2013 testifying about the state version of that bill, HB 2, which passed over the filibuster of Wendy Davis, who you will recall ran on a platform of radical support for abortion rights and lost soundly, which was very gratifying. And what I testified to in the state legislature was that the law is in fact constitutional. The interest in the state interest in preventing the intense suffering that unborn children experience in the context of an abortion is a unique state interest that the court has never evaluated before. And in my judgment, it's an interest that the court would take very seriously, and to get down to brass tacks, that Anthony Kennedy, who's the swing vote on the Supreme Court, would likely take very seriously as an important enough state interest to warrant restricting abortion in this very modest way that those bills do. I think more deeply these bills are very important because they function to bridge the gap in the moral imagination to help people understand that the unborn child is one of us. The bill shouldn't be understood as a kind of moral statement about the worth of a child. Those who can experience pain are worthwhile and those who can't are not. That's not at all the logic of the bill, and it would be a grave misunderstanding to think that that was the case. The bills are, in fact, an incremental way to help people understand that the unborn child who's destroyed in an abortion is one of us. And it put a different way, we were one of them at that stage of development. And the grave problem with abortion and other violations of human dignity in the context of bioethics is a failure of the moral imagination, the failure to see ourselves in the other, the unborn child shrouded in the womb, increasingly visible, made by ultrasound technology and fetal surgery and those other sorts of interventions. Those have done a great deal of good in helping people to understand that the unborn child is not a stranger, is not something different in kind from us, but in fact is a member of the human family who's profoundly vulnerable and requires our love and the protection of the law. And so these laws are very valuable in helping people to see the humanity of the unborn child and, in a small way, allow them and prompt them to ask the question, if the child at 20 weeks is one of us, why shouldn't we afford and extend the same protection to the child at 10 weeks, or indeed to the child at conception? Because it's the same being from the moment of conception throughout all the various stages of human development.
You know, Carter, of course, has great insight because, as you know, Father, a lot of the bills, once they're passed, then we have the parole boards try to do the court challenges to the court. And Carter always points out about the constitutionality of the different bills and how he believes certain bills can still stand up a court challenge. don't you think?
They are. And it's important for people to recognize, even before that, when they're voting for people, that those presidents, those legislators can affect the courts. And the courts are the things that oftentimes turn things around.
Right.
So yes, it's important. And basically the pain capable law is certainly constitutional. Why? Because the courts already allow states to identify their own motives for protecting children in the womb. In this case, the motive is to protect these children from pain. The idea of the law is not that abortion is okay as long as the baby feels no pain. No, instead it's the idea that the pain of the baby becomes another way to protect him or her.
That's right. That's right.
It's another way.
Another way of protecting the unborn. And really, Father, this is what this is all about. Like I said at the very outset, we're all about ending all abortion, making abortion unthinkable. That's the ultimate goal. But sometimes we have to make progress.
Incrementally.
Incrementally. And I always think of this, the example I'd like to use, I'm on the Staten Island ferry and I'm standing right there at the front of the ship and someone jumps overboard on the right side and another person jumps aboard on the left side. Well, am I going to stay on the boat because I can't swim to get them both, or am I going to at least jump over one side and attempt to save this person, get them safely on board, and then look for that other person, see if I can still save them?
Right.
We don't stay paralyzed here because we can't get them both.
We do what we can do.
We do what we can do. And that's really what when St. John Paul II wrote in the Gospel of Life, all these beautiful documents that we have from the church, that's what the church is also telling us, that it's our obligation to save as many lives as we can save, even if we can't get them all. You still have to go after and protect life the most
and we have to
can.
give them the encouragement that things are happening.
Exactly.
Because on the federal level, sometimes we think not, but on the state levels, we see all these bills that have become law. And
That's right.
And
It's
we have
progress.
Right. And we have to remember that the courts are also part of that government, and we need to address that.
We do. And of course, remember, the president appoints a lot of those judges.
Yes.
So, key points.
Who we elect is important.
Exactly. Well, Father, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back right after this break, we're going to take a question from you, our viewers, and we're going to give you a little more action you can do and information you can have to help bring an end to abortions. Stay tuned. I'm happy to offer to you today my book, Recall Abortion, now designated as a bestseller. Based on the experience of women, including myself, this book uses a play on words. The members of the Silent No More Awareness campaign recall the despair and pain of abortion, helping others to be mindful that it is not a solution. The pro-life movement also demands that the government recall abortion, just as it has recalled various forms of surgery and various products which, though once promoted, later proved harmful to those who bought them. This book presents, with fresh information, why abortion is a product so bad and so faulty that the only appropriate and long-due response is to recall it. The book enjoys endorsements from the Vatican and includes an important petition to sign. Visit the EWTN Religious Catalog and order your copy today of Recall Abortion. Welcome back to our Defending Life program, where now we take a question from you, our viewers. Well, Father Denis, today's question comes from Margie from Louisville, Kentucky, and her question is our parish allowed to conduct a voter registration drive?
Thank you, Margie, for your question. And the answer is yes. The parish is allowed, both civil law and church law, to conduct voter registration drives. In fact, it makes a lot of sense to do so because the gospel and the church both teach us that God calls and equips us to change the world. One of the ways we change the world is by changing those who govern us and who write the laws. And in order to make a change in the voting booth, we have to be registered. The guidelines of the Internal Revenue Service indicate the following: activities intended to encourage people to participate in the electoral process, such as voter registration and get-out-the-vote drives, would not constitute prohibited political campaign activity if conducted in a nonpartisan manner. Also, the guidance that the legal office of the United States Bishops' Conference gives to dioceses say Catholic organizations may sponsor voter registration and get-out-the-vote drives, provided that no bias for or against candidate, political party, or voting position is evidenced. So let's get to work. feel free to consult the Priests for Life political website, politicalresponsibility.com, for more information. Thank you for your very timely question. My friends, anytime you have a question for our Priests for Life team, just go to prolifequestions.com and we'll gladly respond to you.
Well, and of course, Father, at that politicalresponsibility.com webpage, we have the actual information there, because the voter registration forms sometimes change a little bit different state to state.
Right.
So we have that. We also have the information about when voter registration has to be completed, because again, those dates are different state to state, especially some states have early voting. And again, you don't have to wait for your parish to do voter registration. I always tell people, we'll start with your circle of influence. Talk to, first of all, your family members. Sometimes, if somebody moves within the same city, from this area to that area, they have to change their registration. It's not valid. They have to redo it. So you need to raise awareness among the people you come in contact with. What about the people in your prayer group? What about the people in the church choir, the youth group? Don't forget the young people, once they turn 18, but they can register to vote. If they're going to turn 18 before the November election period, they can be registered to vote ahead of time. And I always tease that it's a great thing to put a voter registration card in their graduation from high school card, because you're giving them the form like, okay, you're 18, you're graduating from college, you better get registered to vote.
We certainly need to get young people revved up, because we're finding that fewer are registering.
That's right. And the other thing I think about too is when you read the statistics right after elections and you hear how many people stay out and don't vote, it's a shame. Look at all over the world where people wish they had the freedom to vote. My father always raised us on that principle of, he fought in World War II and he never missed an election. As a matter of fact, when my father, unfortunately, the last few years of life was in a nursing home, we always gave him an absentee ballot so that he never missed an election. And actually, the year my dad died, he had already sent in his absentee ballot. He actually passed away the day before the election day, but his vote counted.
His vote counted, right? Amazing.
From the grave, my dad counted.
Ben Franklin saying that, he said, the grandmother said after the Declaration of Independence, what did you do in there all day? He said, we gave you a republic if you can keep it.
If you can
and
keep
you
it.
can't keep it unless we claim the right of we the people.
We the people,
The
by
government
voting.
is not it. And I can't blame the government if we don't vote.
That's right, and don't complain unless you're in the game to
That's it.
stop it. And then just finally, a quick resource we use at Priests for Life. It's by our friends, Americans United for Life. It's called Defending Life. This book is chock full, state by state, of all the progress that's made in your state on the life issue. The laws that have passed, how pro-life your state is or isn't. Of course, New York and California were very weak, but there's so many states that are doing a great job. I know I use this in preparing our talks when we go into states so we can point out to people, because you'd be surprised how many people don't realize the good progress. Contact us at Priests for Life if you want to get a copy of this, and we'll get it to you. It's a great encouragement to read through, isn't it, Father?
Excellent, yeah, resourceful.
That's right. Well, thanks again, Father, for a wonderful program. Well, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us on Defending Life. And before we go, let me offer you 2 items. The priests at Priests for Life are happy to remember you and your loved ones at Mass. We will provide you with Mass cards for the living and the deceased, so that you can use them when the occasion arises, whether it is a baptism or wedding or anniversary, birthday, funeral, or just a special time of need. Let us send you a supply of Mass cards today. And second, if you are concerned about making medical decisions for yourself or your loved ones, Priests for Life provides a document that is legally and morally safe to use to appoint a healthcare proxy of your own choosing, who can speak for you when you cannot speak for yourself, and who will carry out decisions consistent with your faith. Contact us today for this document called The Will to Live. And remember, you can invite Father Pavone, Father Wilde, myself, and other members of our Priests for Life team, like Alvita King and Brian Kemper, to your churches, communities, and pro-life events. Check out our website for details at priestsforlife.org. And on behalf of Father Pavone, our National Director, and all our Priests for Life family, I urge you, let us hear from you. Send us your success stories or your questions and comments. Please connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and more. See priestsforlife.org for links to these and other platforms. And remember, there are some abortions only you can stop, and some lives only you can save. Join us again next week on Defending Life.